So, what if the rulebook that protects everything, from your bank to your local hospital, was a decade out of date? Well, for a long time it was. And it just got a massive, and I mean massive, overhaul. Today we're going to break down cybersecurity's new playbook, the NIST CSF 2.0. So let me ask you a question. Think about your university, maybe your local government, and that online store you're always on. In our crazy digital world, what's the one thing that connects all of them?
The answer? They all have a giant target painted on their backs. It doesn't matter if it's for data, for money, or just to cause chaos. Every single organization that's connected to the internet is in the crosshairs. The stakes have honestly never been higher.
Now, for over a decade, there's been a go-to playbook for defense, a framework to guide the good guys. But the threat actors, they've gotten way smarter, the attacks are more sophisticated, and our digital world is just so much more complex. So, yeah, the rules had to change. To really get why this change was so necessary, let's zoom in on a perfect example: universities. They face this massive challenge that really a lot of other organizations face, but just on a much, much grander scale. I mean, the sheer scale of the problem is just staggering. Universities are designed to be open, to be collaborative places, right? But that very openness creates a huge vulnerability. We're talking millions of attempted breaches every single week. It's wild.
And here's the real kicker. Even with this constant barrage of attacks, research shows that a whopping 75%, over 3/4, are considered ill-prepared for the IT risks they face. That's a recipe for absolute disaster.
But look, this isn't just a university problem. Not at all. Small businesses, local governments, major corporations, they're all staring down similar threats. So, with the old playbook clearly not cutting it anymore, what is the new plan? Well, the plan starts with a blueprint from the National Institute of Standards and Technology, or as everyone calls it, NIST. For years, their cybersecurity framework, the CSF, has been the gold standard for managing cyber risk.
So, the original framework, which came out way back in 2014, was built on these 5 core functions. It was the simple but really powerful loop: identify your assets and your risks, protect them, detect when breaches happen, respond to contain the damage, and then recover your systems. It was a really solid foundation.
But after 10 years of a constantly changing threat landscape, it was time for an upgrade, a big one. And that brings us to NIST CSF 2.0. This is not just some minor patch. This is the first major evolution of the framework, and what's really crucial here is that its scope has totally blown up. It's not just for critical infrastructure like power plants anymore. Now it's designed to guide all organizations, any size, any sector. The biggest change in CSF 2.0, the thing that everyone is talking about, is the addition of a brand new 6th function. And this one addition fundamentally changes how organizations have to approach cybersecurity. This new function is called Govern. And the crucial point, the real light bulb moment here, is that governance elevates cybersecurity from being just an IT problem to a core business strategy issue. It puts cyber risk on the exact same level as financial risk and reputational risk, which means it demands attention from the CEO, from the board, from the very top. And this govern function is incredibly thorough. It's not just one thing, it's a whole system. For instance, organizational context means you have to know your mission and what you actually need to protect. Cybersecurity supply chain risk management means finally admitting that your security is only as strong as your partners. It forces leadership to lay out a clear risk management strategy and then provide real oversight to make sure it's all actually working. So when you boil it all down, what Govern does is it drags cybersecurity out of the server room and puts it right in the middle of the boardroom. It makes security a shared responsibility, a continuous conversation that involves everyone. Okay, so that's the theory. But how does this new 6-part framework actually get used out there in the real world? Right, so large organizations don't operate in a bubble, and neither does the NIST framework. It's often used right alongside other big international standards like ISO 27001. A good way to think about it is that ISO is more prescriptive. It's like a strict recipe with a checklist, and you can even get certified. NIST, on the other hand, is much more flexible. It's focused on managing risk in whatever way best fits the organization. And here's the really cool part. They're not mutually exclusive. You don't have to choose.
Now, this diagram might look a little complicated, but the idea is actually simple. An organization can map the strict requirements from a framework like ISO right onto the flexible steps of the NIST CSF. This lets them build a hybrid defense that's totally customized to their specific needs, giving them the best of both worlds. You get structure and adaptability.
But what about a small business, right? A place that doesn't have a huge security team? Well, that's where CSF 2.0 really shines. The new Quick Start Guides give simple, actionable first steps. We're not talking about complex jargon here. We're talking fundamentals. Things like using multi-factor authentication, knowing what your most important data is, and, this one's huge, having a contact list ready before you get hit. It makes real cybersecurity accessible to everyone.
So this new framework is great for today's threats, but what about tomorrow's? NIST is also playing the long game, looking decades into the future at what might be the next great challenge: the risk of quantum computers just shattering all of our current encryption. Just look at this timeline. It shows you how long and careful this whole process is. For years, NIST has been running a global competition to find and standardize new cryptographic algorithms that can actually stand up to attacks from quantum computers. The very first of these standards were just finalized in 2024, which shows you that the work to secure our future is already well underway.
So, if there's one thing you take away from all this, it should be this. That shift from 5 functions to 6, from just reacting to threats to focusing on governance, that signals a fundamental change in mindset. Cybersecurity is no longer a checklist you complete once a year. It's a continuous, strategic process that has to be woven into the very fabric of an organization.
And that leaves us with a final and pretty crucial question. Frameworks like CSF 2.0 and projects like post-quantum cryptography, these are our best efforts to stay ahead of the curve. But as technology accelerates at this exponential rate, the race between offense and defense is only going to get more intense. Can we actually keep up? Well, I guess only time will tell.